Hey guys, what's going on? Inception here, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be doing a review for the Flashback Dani Alves card. Now, right off the bat, I know that the card is a high-low card, so he's going to be very similar to Marcelo in terms of off-the-ball movement. So it's not necessarily going to be a good fullback to use, right, in terms of wanting him to be in a good position. But he will be a phenomenal fullback at everything else, right? So if we look at his card, he's 5'8", not great. Let's see if he has any jumping stats. So he's 5'8", but he does have 90 jumping, but he doesn't really have the strength, right? So as you guys know, crossing is very effective in FIFA. So the 90 jumping might be able to balance out the 5'8" a little bit, but with the high-low work rates, he might not always be in the position to be able to block those situations, right? It's a fun card to have because he does have 4-star skill moves. Doesn't have the weak foot, which kind of sucks, but it's essentially a really good card to use in any position, right? So even if you want to use him as a right mid, you could, but obviously his finishing isn't that great. But the card in general, the only problem with it, right, is going to be the strength for jumping and not necessarily for winning the ball back, because his 88 acceleration with 91 sprint speed and 88 aggression, when he's chasing after someone, being 5'8", it's very similar to someone like Conte, right? So he'll kind of just like nudge his way into people to get the ball back. So in that regard, he's going to be awesome, regardless of if you have the strength or not. The strength is going to be more noticeable for the crosses in the air when people pass it to that specific side, right? So his strength being at 62 is not great, right? Finishing at 69, honestly, is amazing for a fullback. Really, really good for a fullback, because with high-low work rates, Dani Alves' characteristic will be that he will push forward. Even if you tell him to stay back while attacking, his instruction of, or his work rate of high-low will I think it will take over more than the stay back while attacking. Stay back while attacking is more relevant when players are like medium-high work rates or high work rates. They do stay back, but their characteristics of them being a high-low player really does push them in, right? So you have to be very careful with stuff like that. But the card in general is fantastic. He has standing tackles, sliding tackles. He has a lot of very, very good stats that makes a card fantastic, right? Like, it'll be a very, very good card to use. But those are the two things that you will notice, right? It's going to be the work rates, because if you guys ever use Marcelo, Marcelo's very similar, right? Because Marcelo is a phenomenal fullback, but the biggest problem with him is his work rates, right? Because as you guys know, in this game, it is so easy to exploit the sides, because for some reason your fullbacks always commit forward and it always leaves that gap in behind, which is very, very annoying, right? It just makes the crossing meta even more effective, which is annoying because it's random and by itself, but it's still a thing, right? That's why I don't like the work rates in the card. But if you can get past the fact that people will be able to do easy wide passes or through ball passes to your sides, with the fullbacks being Dani Alves and stuff, and him being at a position more often than not, but when you get the ball with him and off him, like transitioning left and right, he's going to be an awesome card. We're going to see what the requirements are for the card. Okay, so exchange a squad featuring players from Brazil. So Brazil players minimum 1, team of the week players minimum 1, team overall rating 86, team chemistry 80. Right off the bat, the only reason why I think this card would be worth getting is because the League One doesn't have any good right backs. I'm pretty sure. Like, they have like Thomas Munier and stuff, and Thomas Munier is like decent because he has like the high work rates and stuff. But I'm pretty sure this specific SBC will be kind of expensive because it's an 86 rating, right? And then the 85 team overall rating for this one, and then a minimum of 1 player from FC Barcelona, team chemistry on 80. It's going to be an expensive SBC. I'm actually going to check Footbin right now because this SBC was released an hour and a half ago. I'm just going to go on the main Footbin page and see how much it generally costs, just to make a comparison with everything else. So Flashback SBC, when people have made the card for Xbox and PlayStation together, there's the Seleção one. So the Seleção one is the Brazilian one, which is 171k, and then there's the Barcelona one, which is 102k. So altogether, the card is going to cost 273k-ish, right? Because as you guys know, with Footbin SBC, sometimes they make the price higher, so there might be a way to get it lower. So 270k is very steep for a Dani Alves card, But the thing about this card is that it has Team of the Year stats, right? So if you do end up getting this card, this is a card if you were looking for a specific Brazilian right back with a good card in general for a large majority of the year, because Team of the Year is still going to be in like 2-3 months. So it's going to be a large part of your gameplay for you to be able to enjoy them. Is 273k a lot of money? It is. It's very, very expensive for a fullback. But in regards to the characteristics of the card, you are paying for those characteristics. The Brazilian nationality and the League One fullback, right? We're going to look at some teams that you might be able to use Dani Alves in. Because Brazilian, you have like a plethora of options. You can really like rotate around it, right? But like I said, you got to be very careful with using players like Dani Alves, because his high-low work rates will push him out of position more often than not. So if you like that aggressive fullback style where it's like Marcelo and Dani Alves, they'll be awesome for you, right? Best way to go about things is always using the 4-3-2-1, or the most formations that people use is a 4-3-2-1. This is the beginning formation. Dynamic tactic, you can change it to a 4-2-3-1, blah blah blah, right? So 4-2-3-1 and 4-3-2-1, and I think it's the first variation of the 4-5-1, which is this one, right? You can use this for chemistry as well, because with this formation, if you were to put Dani Alves right here, so it's this card right here, we're gonna go put his high, because it's a 90 version. It's essentially a Team of the Year card, right? It's if you have the money to do it, because it's not really worth doing the card in regards to it being Brazilian or the League One, because the League One, you know, if you use the card, you would have to have players like Mbappe and stuff, right? So if you put Mbappe in the team, Mbappe would no longer need the chemistry, because Mbappe only needs one chemistry link, which is what makes this formation so great, right? Because that's all the chemistry he needs. If you have a fullback and a midfielder that are of the same team, but not necessarily the same nationality, you're already fine in that regard. You don't even need to put anybody else for these two players, because they only need one link. They need one green link to make it good. So another situation as to why the card is cool, because you can actually do this just with one chemistry link, right? Other situations you may find yourself in if you cannot use the Dani Alves is even using Thiago Silva, right? Because Thiago Silva, he's not a completely ideal center back, and I'll explain why. So if we look at Thiago Silva's card, it's a 71 place player, right? But with high work rate. So it might be a little bit odd for some people, but in general, this card will be a lot of fun to use, because it is Thiago Silva. Thiago Silva is a card that is a player in real life that people don't really look at nowadays, because he plays in the League One. People watch the League One more now because of Neymar and Mbappe there, but like not necessarily that much before, right? And high work rates on this card is a weird one, but he has really good defensive capabilities, right? Because his strength is 82, he has 76 aggression, but he has 90 jumping, right? And he has a big physical stature in game. It's not as big as Virgil van Dijk's, because Virgil van Dijk is massive in this game, right? He's massive in this game, but Thiago Silva also has a big physical stature. So the cool thing about this situation, right, is that you also have a triple link here, right? So Dani Alves obviously doesn't need anymore, but if you want to put Thiago Silva with other players, you only need one more link with him. So with Van Dijk in the team now, right, you can put in someone like Alisson, who, to be honest, I don't really recommend that much, because he's an inconsistent goalkeeper. He's screwed up a lot for me so far this year. You could put someone like Alisson, and in your other center back, right, you could put Virgil van Dijk. All right, so if you put Virgil van Dijk in the team, with Virgil van Dijk in the team, you now, it doesn't matter which version I put, you now have that green link there, right? So you have something working for you in that situation, right? Obviously, in the center mid position, you can use someone like Fabinho. So Fabinho gets that chemistry link with Thiago Silva as well, and he obviously gets that full link with Virgil van Dijk too. And he only needs one more link here, right? So at this point, you can put a Brazilian center mid. You know, you can rotate a lot of things, because right now the situation given is that Thiago Silva and Dani Alves already has the full link. You don't have to do anything with Dani Alves anymore. You can do a top squad builder that's completely different, like an EPL team. You can go with a Brazilian team in general. You can put Alexandre Pato in there, Alex Teixeira, Paulinho, right? And just like mix and match, because you could do a team, right, that has Paulinho and Fabinho being your CDMs. Would it be ideal? Not necessarily, because Paulinho is high and Fabinho is medium. I think that the most ideal work rate to have in that CDM position is medium high. I think medium high is single-handedly the best one. You need, if a player has a different work rate, you need to have different types of players. For instance, if you have like Laurent Blanc, who's medium high, or Patrick Vieira, who's medium high, and then you have someone like Ruud Gullit, who's high medium, or Pogba, who is high low, you need to have a balance of that medium high player needs to be very, very good, right? Like, it has to be a very good balance in that regard. So with this, like I said, you have all the links required, right? Now you can switch it up even more if you really want to, right? So on the side over here, you could put Neymar, right? If you put Neymar on the side over here, on the left side, you can now put I was gonna say Alexandro, but the problem with Alexandro, and I actually might be able to switch it like this. I can't because of Thiago Silva. You can put Marquinhos too, because Marquinhos is Brazilian. Because I'm trying to think of a way to put Brazilian. Alexandro on 7 chemistry wouldn't be that bad, because I actually use Alexandro on 7 chemistry, and that wouldn't be too bad either. So if we put Alexandro in the team, high work rates on 6 chemistry would also be very good. Neymar can get the chemistry links with, honestly, you could probably put, like, I'm thinking about this, you could probably put Roberto Firmino here. We're just like throwing some players around, a team that like you can actually rotate around, right? So you got that green link there, you have the full links there with Roberto Firmino. To be honest, you could probably switch this whole side over here as well. Chelsea, thinking like a Chelsea link, but like you could put like a triple link here of players that are like in the similar teams. Because if you put Mbappe gets the full chemistry. You could put Brazilian players there, so you could put like Alexandre Pato. This is just like a fun concept, right? This is the type of teams you make, like if you want to just try out different teams, right? I'll just put Pato, because Pato's probably the card that would show up right away. There we go, Alexandre Pato. Pato had a flashback SBC, so it's this one right here, right? You could put in, since you don't have another CDM player that can play the center mid role, you can put Paulinho here. Again, the work rates are a little bit odd because there's no medium high, so the balance between the work rates of the 2 CDM players isn't great, but you do have that full link there with Paulinho, and then on the right side you can use like Mbappe, right? So you can put like Mbappe in the team. Mbappe's on the bench. So you have like a cool concept here. Like it's players you probably never really see that often, right? You have Mbappe on one side, Neymar on the other, maybe Roberto Firmino as the cam, Alexandre Pato as a striker. If you really want to, you can actually switch this too, where you put Paulinho on that side, you take out Pato, and then you could put in like Gabriel Jesus or something, right? And you could even use Gabriel Jesus on the side. So if you're using like a 4-2-3-1 narrow, I would actually recommend using Neymar as a striker rather than Gabriel Jesus. But the reason why you do that is because everyone still has the full chemistry links, right? So everything really works out nicely here. I think Kurzawa actually has a new card as well, if I'm not mistaken, because I saw him as I think it's I don't know what this SBC is called. I think it's Foot Swap, right? Let's see if this card is good. So high-low work rates isn't great. It's not great because he doesn't have the pace to make up for it, right? But is it a good fullback in general? It is, because if you look at his stats, he's got the physical capabilities, jumping while also being 6 foot tall. If he was high work rates, this card would be a really fun card to use, right? He has the aggression of 80, interceptions of 81, sliding tackles. Finishing is even 77 with 79 composure for a fullback. That's awesome, right? Acceleration 86. Acceleration is more important than sprint speed in the regard of a... if we're talking about defenders, it's more important for the fullback to have or for the defenders to have better acceleration than sprint speed so that they can boost quickly and then get the ball back. So you can use Kurzawa on this team too. I still think Alexandro would be the better option, but if you do end up using a card like Kurzawa, it would probably be ideal to give him Shadow to boost the pace as much as possible, but to also boost his defensive stats. So, you know, this is kind of like a cool concept of a team that you can make with Dani Alves. Again, the card is pretty cool, right? But the two things that will definitely be noticeable is his lack of strength when it comes to air balls, not necessarily when it's on the floor, right? Because of the strength being 62, but he does have 90 jumping. But the reason why the strength is a problem is because he is also 5'8". If he was like 6 foot and he had like 62 strength, but he had 90 jumping, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But 5'8" is kind of a low height. But the jumping does compensate for it a little bit, but that strength being low is not going to be ideal against really good players in the air that can win those headers. And then it was the work rates, obviously. So off the ball movement, when you're not using him, he's not going to be that great. So you have to be very careful with that as well, because he's high-low work rates. Very similar to Marcelo. Marcelo's a fantastic card, but if you can get past the fact that his work rates puts him in certain positions in certain areas, he's not necessarily going to be ideal to use. So other than that, the card looks fun. 270k is a lot of money. I think it is definitely a lot of money. But if we're going to make the comparison between him and other fullbacks from League One and Brazilian fullbacks, because Brazilian fullbacks, who's the guy I'm thinking of that's Brazilian? I can't even think about him at the top of my head. Right back. Do they have many right backs? I don't even know if they do. Ah, Danilo, right. Yeah, Danilo is the only other option, and Danilo's trash. In FIFA, Mariano's better than Danilo because, you know, pace is more relevant for the fullbacks, but everybody else essentially sucks, right? So if you're a Brazilian person or you're a fan of Dani Alves in general, in that regard, it's worth it because, again, he has Team of the Year stats, right? So Brazilian, Dani Alves is the only winner. Everybody else sucks. And if you look at League One players, this is just a comparison just to see if you guys like the card or not. If we look at League One players that are fullbacks as well, League One players that are fullbacks as well, you have Thomas Munier, who is high work rate, so it compensates a little bit for the pace being low, and he does have a good physical presence with 6'3" height, right? 73 jumping is okay because he is high work rates with 6'3". If he was like 80 jumping with 6'3", this guy would be a god in the physical battles in the air. And he just looks like a good attacking player. The problem with this card is that his acceleration is lower than his sprint speed, and the acceleration is more important than the sprint speed just to be able to move and then chase after the ball. My chat just mentioned that Lala is one of the right backs, and I totally forgot about Lala because Lala plays for, I think it's Montpellier or something. I can't remember exactly. So Lala is the other fullback option. What team is this? He plays for Strasbourg. Never saw this team. Might be a new team, actually. My problem with Lala in a team is the high-medium. I always prefer the high work rates. But looking at the card a little bit deeper, in the comparison between him and Dani Alves, in terms of the price you're paying for Dani Alves and the price you're paying for Lala, because I don't think Lala is that expensive, actually, is 76k for this card. I prefer to get it like Kyle Walker, to be honest, for the high work rates, but yeah, that's a fair comparison. Dani Alves versus Lala. Dani Alves has better stats, but Lala has high-medium, which is a bigger deal in my opinion. But that's the comparison that you're going to be making. So when you do end up doing the card, if you do want to do it, you have to compare him to Lala, right? Which is the only comparison you can really make, and comparing him to Brazilian fullbacks, and there's no good for Brazilian fullbacks. So that's what you have to look at when making these cards. But that is going to conclude the video for today, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy it. This is just a cool concept team that you can make. You don't necessarily have to do it. It's just like an ideal or an idea that you guys can make to have a somewhat meta team, because as you guys know, FIFA only really has division rivals. They don't have casual game modes where you can try out different teams and stuff. So a team like this would be kind of interesting to make if you do have the extra money and you want to have fun in FIFA. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. If you guys enjoyed it, please drop a thumbs up on it. It definitely helps out the channel a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Love you guys.